I was hired to design and build a wet bar in a client's finished basement. I did several iterations in SketchUp. This is one of the early examples that we liked. As things progressed, we settled on this as a final design, though we did make some changes. In this video, I'm only going to concentrate on the base cabinet box construction. These boxes are very simple, and this design works for both frameless and face frame cabinets. Now, I did add face frames to mine, but I do not cover that process in this video. When building cabinetry, we always begin by gracefully hoisting a full sheet of plywood onto the workbench. I don't have a cabinet saw, so I use a track saw to make all of my cuts. Breaking down sheet goods can be very repetitive, but I have a few tips to help with accuracy. First, you want to trim a clean edge. I opted to start each sheet by cutting a clean edge off of the short end. Make sure to mark your first cut, as this will be your reference point moving forward. I'm cutting each of these at 34.5 inches because that's the height of my cabinet boxes. Remember to mark the new reference edge on each piece. By the way, this is birch plywood, pre-finished on one side, and I needed 3 sheets of 3/4 inch and 1 sheet of 1/4 inch to build these base cabinets. Now that the plywood pieces are the appropriate height, we need to cut the cabinet sides to the correct depth. I like to have some sort of positive stop to register the plywood and the framing square against, so nothing shifts as I am making my marks. Just be sure that you're actually using your reference edge against the fence. And then you can use the same method to lay out the rest of your measurements. And I like to wait to make any cuts until all of my pieces have been marked. I'm making 6 base cabinet boxes total, each 18 inches wide, but it's not going to be one long run of cabinets. 2 cabinet boxes will be attached to make a pair, and then 3 pairs will be broken up by 2 small fridges and an ice maker. So you might wonder why I am not making these 36 inches wide. That would have been hard for me to carry by myself up and down stairs. For me, it really came down to transportation. Here I am cutting out the integrated toe kick. If this was a longer row of cabinets, not broken up by appliances, I probably would have built the toe kick separately. Like many others here on YouTube, I find it much easier to level cabinets that way. Just a little side note, crappy chisels work just fine if you keep them sharp. They just lose their edge faster than a nice chisel, and they don't look as good. I realize that I've gone a little overboard on the shelf pinholes, but who knows what someone might want to store in the future. So here I'm just cutting out the bottoms with the same method that I used earlier to cut out the sides. And here I'm cutting the top rails and the base pieces. I'm using some plywood scraps because these pieces will not be seen. And now I'm just assembling the base. I decided to paint the interior of the cabinets the same as the exterior. Many of these cabinets will have drawer boxes made of ash, and I really like the contrast between the ash and the deep blue. The boxes with drawers will be painted after assembly because those won't be nearly as visible, but I chose to paint the shelf cabinets before assembly so I could get the cleanest possible paint job. Now, wood glue does not stick to paint, so some masking is needed. I didn't want my shelf pinholes to get any smaller, so I cut up some drinking straws to block those holes. I'm using a lightly tinted primer that I had left over from a previous project. I usually have primer tinted to a gray shade, a little lighter than my final color. I always remove tape in between coats of paint. Leaving tape on for multiple coats or multiple days is asking for trouble, because it's almost guaranteed to peel your paint. Here I'm just sanding the primer, but this step is really only to smooth out the jagged edge around the shelf pinholes. By the way, this is Hague Blue by Farrow and Ball. If you're not familiar with what I'm doing here, I'm just checking for square. If your diagonals are the same measurement, you're good, but if one side is longer than the other, some very light clamping pressure can help even things out. So here I have caulked the corners and filled in the impressions left by the staple gun. It was pretty easy to just go over these one more time with a quick spray and hit all those spots. And here they are after installation, leveled and secured to the wall. Thank you for watching.